Hello guys and welcome to today's STPL. We're going to be heading into the playoffs for the first time in Season 3. We're in the playoffs round 1. We've got 2 rounds, we've got 3 rounds after this. The winners of both of these 2 matches today will face off in the quarterfinals. The winner will go to the semi-finals. The semi-finals will go to the finals, of course. And that'll be the end of the season. So, format as always. Best of 5, all the games are played regardless of the outcome. Set 1 to 4, the lineups are selected in advance, and all the games are played at the same time. And as always, in set 5 it is the ace match, and every player can compete again. So nothing different there, nothing too crazy changing or anything like that. But there is going to be no 4th place, because it was only after someone pointed out that there's no possibility of a 3rd and 4th place match. I'll need to change up the prize pool a little bit, but it's not a big deal. We can edit that later. But it's been a week off for me. I'm going to have to go back to work tomorrow, which is kind of why I'm glad I'm getting to do this today. Just because, essentially, I am going to be probably really stressed tomorrow because I really don't want to go back to work. I am really not looking forward to it, but there we go. Let's get into introducing our teams, and then we can go from there. So, our first team today is going to be Clan Revolution. It's only just dawned to me that their name does not fit on the screen. I've never noticed that before, so that's something to look out for if they go into the next round when I fix it. If they go into the next round, of course, they've got to win their series today to do so. But they did pretty well throughout the season. They went 5-5 and qualified. They were very close to not making it, though. It was only because Red couldn't win their final match that ReV managed to get through into the playoffs. But they're a very strong team. They're leading today with their star player as well in Medinho, and it should be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to turn out. Their opponents going to be Eternal Friends. Now, it's Valhalla team. Sorry, Eternal Friends are coming up in the next series. Now, Valhalla team have had a bit of a rough ride in this season of STPL. They started off teaming up with Wico. That partnership dissolved around about halfway through the season. They picked up a couple of penalty losses because of it, due to the fact they had players not showing up and lineups getting submitted late and stuff like that. And a lot of the better players they had did depart from the team when that happened. So they kind of still had their strong roster going into the sort of playoffs. But due to Bishop not showing up and someone else not showing up, Iradiar, who's one of the clan leaders of Valhalla team, stepped in, and Galaxy stepped in as well for someone else. So we've got 2 of the Mexican players back again in the STPL. Whether or not that's going to make a difference to the outcome of the series, it's yet to be seen. We've not seen too much of Iradiar or Galaxy, but we do know quite a bit about their opponents, so we'll have to see how that's going to play out. You can see here that Medinho against Iradiar is going to be our first matchup at EVT on Fantasy 2. I would definitely say I would give the edge to Medinho here. We've got CRVT versus Galaxy. I would probably give the edge to CRVT, but because I don't know enough about Galaxy, because I've not seen him play for so long, I'm not really sure how that's going to go. Sugo versus Yangachi, I think we're going to have to give it to Yangachi at least, on the basis that he is such a strong amateur Korean Protoss player. But Sugo still has a chance, especially on a map like La Mancha. And then we've got a ZBZ between Hyunwoo and Pitbull on Core Breach. Now, I would definitely give that to Pitbull, so it is very possible we're going to be heading into an ace match in this series, but on Core Breach and with Hyunwoo, anything can happen in a ZBZ, so I'm very interested to see how that's going to play out. Now, if we have a look at our first couple of players, of course we've got Medino here, one of the strongest players on ReV, a really strong player outside of Korea in all honesty. He's done really, really well in his previous games. The only games he's lost recently have been to Bonith, DeWalt, and Terra, who are three of the best players outside of Korea, so it's not really too much to be said there, but Medino is very strong in TVT. Iradiar has only played one TVT in his STPL history, that was back in 2018, which was almost 2 years ago at this point. But, well, obviously 2018 was 2 years ago, but his match date was almost 2 years ago. He did lose against Terra, and I mean, Medino lost against Terra as well, so can't really say too much. The map they're going to be going into is going to be Fancy 2. Now, Fancy 2, as I've said before, is the amalgamation between 4 other maps. It's a good map to play, it's a good map to watch, and we've had some really good games here, and we've actually had a decent number of TVT, so looking forward to seeing how this is going to go as we get into game number 1. Okay, starting us off here in the top right hand corner, we've got Medino for ReV. And his opponent spawning up here in the blue. For Valhalla team, it's Iradiar, or Ira. I guess we'll call him Ira. Ira is a little bit easier to say. It does feel like these two maps have been, these two spawns have been common in this match, but I've also seen a lot of top left versus bottom left, and I've seen a lot of people spawning in the bottom right, so I think it's maybe just a little bit of confirmation bias. It could be that maybe the maps you've played, or the maps you've seen have been a little bit more common. I think because it's completely random, I don't know if there's a way you could set a certain spawn to be more common, but it definitely does feel like the Legacy of Char spawn, at least in TVT, has seen a lot more play, but once again it could be a little bit of confirmation bias. So we've got Medino building a forward barracks here. This isn't to do anything cheesy, it's just to basically scout a little bit quicker, and that's exactly what Ira's going to do as well. Iradiar's saying his friends call him, is that Ira? Is it Ira? I can do Ira. Ira's a lot easier to say than Iradiar. Or is it Ira? I can never tell when people write the letter I. English is too difficult, guys. If English isn't your first language, I am so sorry. It's not my fault. But I feel guilty that you guys have actually spent time learning this language, given how horrible it is. I hate English so much. I am so unbelievably lucky that it's my first language, because if I was to look at it as someone who was an outsider, I don't think I'd ever be able to speak English. I can only speak English purely because it's all I've ever listened to when I was growing up, I think. But I think that's just how it worked with me. Okay, so we've got a factory coming in for both players. This is a very hard map to fast expand on, although I would say Ira. Okay, this is even more confusing. So Iradiar said Y. Now, is it yes to Ira, or is it yes to Ira? Say 1 or 2 would probably be the easiest one. Yeah, English is very useful, but I just, it's not convenient at all. Like, there's so many things in English that makes absolutely no sense. But going back to this game, because I don't want Medina thinking I'm not paying attention, looks like we did have a second factory being built, but it was cancelled once he scouted the fact that Medina was going to go for an expansion. We've got the expansion coming up here as well. Now we've also got Iradia or Ira going to be doing the same thing. So both players going for an expansion. Medina, without a scout yet, does not know what his opponent is doing, and that's definitely going to cause some problems because Ira should actually be able to block this SCV with his Marines if he's careful. Okay, and I'm very sorry, Iradia. You've just written the same thing. You've written Ira again, and I can't figure out which one it is. Okay, I'm just going to call you Ira. Is that okay? This might be a little bit easier way of doing it. Oh my god, I hate pronouncing names as well. Now we've got the second factory coming in for Medina. This is very, very common. The scout is going to come in. It will see the second factory. He will know there's an expansion. There's an armory coming up as well, which is good timing here by Iradia, or Ira. And Rheinmetall, if you say Spanish I don't have any idea what that means. I don't know Spanish, so it's just, it's going from bad to worse on my pronunciation here. The way I pronounce it in Spanish, but once again, I don't know how that is either. Iglesias? The era? Would that be era? I don't know. Okay, so the upgrades are going to be a lot quicker here from era. The good thing for that, the good thing with that is it means you get +2 a lot faster. You are giving up a little bit of gas early on that could be going into these upgrades, could be going into this third factory, although it looks like we've both got third factory, or we've both got 3 factories anyway. So Iradia or Ira is going to be in a much better position if the game goes on a little bit later. But when you have Vulture versus Vulture, things can go from bad to worse very, very quickly, and especially when you start to see move-ins like that, where you get in, kill a Vulture, and get back out without losing anything, you're going to start to get yourself in a very, very good spot. Now, what Medina is realistically going to look to do is get a big minefield out here, and cover the center of the map with his early Vultures. And what that'll do is that'll give him a position to move in and set up a really hard contain, as it's very difficult to actually go for an expansion on this map. Now, we've got 2 factories additional coming in. Medina still does not have those factories. He's got 4th one. The 5th one is likely going to follow here, but there's still no armory. So Ira is in a very good position against Medina right now. Now we've got Medina going for an academy. This is going to give him access to scan. The armory is coming in as well. A little bit later than maybe I would normally like to see it in TVT, but I think everything is still going fine. I mean, you can see that Medina has a big supply advantage. His worker count is a little bit higher as well. And every engagement he gets like this is just going to make things harder and harder for Ira, because, I mean, look at this minefield. It's not very important, realistically, if your opponent is going mass Vulture. Well, we've got Goliaths coming out from Iradia now, and that means that Medina is going to have map control, because they're going to have to go through the minefield. And there is scans coming in, but it just delays his opponent long enough so he can start to go into these tanks. Now we're going to get the starport coming in as well. Looks like Medina getting scanned. Iradia checking on the factory count, checking on these upgrades, and also seeing the starport. Very, very important. Now +1 attack is already finished for Irradiar, which is a pretty big deal, although +2 is the main breakpoint, so I think it's going to be a while before we start to see that coming in. Now Irradiar isn't going to have too many scans left to be able to push through this, so he's going to have to be careful. And doing a pretty good job clearing up these minefields so far. I mean, the unit combination we have from Era is actually a little bit better than Medinho, but look at Medinho, he's getting ready to come in behind. Era moving back, he senses something is wrong. And there's actually no defense back here. This is going to be horrific. Now it looks like all of the SCVs have been pulled back. The tank on the ramp trying to hold on the best it can. We've got units coming in to try and repair this, although the looks like it is going to be cleaned up. But Medinho actually loses his supply lead now. That was actually a massive mistake. Now the real story is going to be when dropships start to come in, when these tanks start to come in as well. Because look at the position Medinho is starting to be able to set up here. And this means Irradiar is not going to be able to push through the middle of the map. Now, it's not as strong a position as if he'd taken it here a little bit earlier when he still had his minefield, but to get his minefield, he had to go for vultures, so he didn't have any tanks to begin with. Now Irradiar is pushing forward here. This is a lot of tanks, but this is a ton of Goliaths. Can these tanks actually hold on? He's down in upgrades. We're going to have the tanks on the high ground being taken down. And it looks like Medinho is actually going to be the one who's getting himself a little bit contained here, as the tanks from Irradiar are going to move forward and block this bridge. Now, as long as Irradiar doesn't push too far forward, Medinho is going to be in a terrible spot. But there is still a chance to hold here. He just has to hold on to the bridges. And Irradiar could definitely make some big mistakes trying to push over. You do not want to push over this bridge. Even with the upgrade advantage, you will lose your tanks. And that is something you do not want to happen. We've got mines coming down with the vultures. One of the vultures getting taken down by his own tanks. But this single tank, I mean, look how effective this has been. Now, it's not a complete contain as there is this ramp over here, but if Irradiar can get into position here, we can actually have a very big upset. And I don't mean that to say anything bad about Irradiar, but Medinho is one of the highest ranked players in the STPL right now, so at least statistically this is going to be a huge upset. Now some of the SCVs are being pulled. He needs to take them to try and take out this tank, and he needs to get some additional tanks up here. There's no he has to pull his units right now, because if he loses this third base, he loses his only position out in the middle of the map, and you can already see the reinforcements coming in from Irradiar are coming thick and fast out of these factories. There's so many tanks, so many Goliaths coming on the way. The command center looks like it's going to get away barely, but it's going to be close. The scan coming in to try and help clean this up. And oh, actually, I don't think he's going to be able to save this. Yeah, I think the command center is going to go down. Irradiar coming in from behind. There's no real way you can hide this anywhere, so that's 400 minerals that are going to go down. We've got Medinho getting ready to check for expansions in the bottom left. Perhaps looking to try and expand down there. Now this could be the great equalizer. The Viking Terran pulling out his raiding longboats once again. And this is a very hard position to break, and all of the units have just left Irradiar's base. Could this be the great equalizer? Is this going to force Irradiar into a position he does not want to take? Now there is this area here he can take to cut off the second gas, which would be an incredibly important moment. But the main command center has been lifted. Irradiar is down to one base, and it looks like Irradiar is getting impatient. He's trying to push in. He wants to break his opponent. Medinho's focus fire has been incredibly strong so far. And could Irradiar have just thrown away his winning position here? His supply is plummeting. Medinho is going to get the armory, and the dropships coming in with some additional units to try and help out here as well. And it looks like Medinho is held, and it looks like Irradiar will be falling in game number 1. He tried his best. He was doing so well, but unfortunately for him, Medinho pushed him into a position he didn't want to be in, and that was all it took. A crumble. Irradia. Okay, I'm gonna go for a quick break. When I get back, we'll go into game number 2. It's gonna be CRVT versus Galaxy at PBZ on Monty Hall SE.
STPL Season 3. Yeah. STPL DAS. Bio TVP? Wow! No problem. We got dragons to defend. Yeah. STPL DAS. STPL DAS. Mass Scout? Oh, I'm so afraid. We got Hydralisk to defend. Yes. STPL. STPL. Fantastic production. Fantastic casters. Fantastic prize pool. Only in STPL.
I'm about to overload my aggression inhibitors. Outstanding. Rock and roll.
Okay guys, welcome back. We're going to be going into game number 2. This one's going to be CRVT starting us off for ReV. He's done pretty well in the STPL against everyone and Zerg, so really good player. His opponent kind of evenly skill leveled, at least in terms of results in the STPL. Hasn't really played as much recently, only 2 games in the last year in the STPL, but doing pretty respectably for himself. Did beat Hyunmu and Patak in his last 2 games, but I mean, that was EVZ. This is going to be PBZ. Let's see how it's going to go as we get into Monty Hall SE in game number 2. Okay, starting us off on the top left is CRVT fighting for ReV. And down here in the bottom right, spawning for Valhalla team, it's Galaxy. Now that last game we had was incredibly close. Now unfortunately for Irradia, we saw that basically Medino pushed him into a position where he felt like he had to all in. He sent his army across the bridges, across the ridges, but unfortunately he couldn't break through the defensive line of Medino, and that gave ReV the 1-0 lead in the series. Now, are we going to see CRVT capitalize on that? Are they going to get a very quick second win here over Valhalla team, giving them a very strong hope of getting through into the quarterfinals? Or are we going to see Galaxy fight back here? That is the question we're going to find the answer to. It's going to be an overpull for Galaxy. CRVT getting ready. You can expand on this map. It is Monty Hall, in case you haven't seen this map before, but fast expansions, I mean, they're probably a little bit safer here than anywhere else. But proxy gateways are actually quite common as well. But it looks like we are going to have a Nexus first here on 13 supplied by CRVT at his one of his natural expansions. So the fact that Galaxy went for an overpool on this map is kind of interesting to me, because it's actually better, I think, to just go 12 hatchery. There's not really I guess there is always a risk that your opponent glitches through like CRVT did, but goes for proxy 2 gate or something. And we have seen that in the STPL so far. Now it looks like, for the benefit of a longer game, Galaxy is getting ready to expand to the middle, which is a little bit worse overall, but it's a little less likely to be pushed through. Because you only get one base from taking that location, whereas there's 3 bases. There's 3 bases in the bottom left and top right hand corner, not including the other naturals, of course. So there is a little bit more money to be had if you go around the outside of the map, but going through the middle gives you a little bit more of a direct route to your opponent's base. And if you were Galaxy, you could actually opt. This is a little bit weird to say, but you could take your opponent's natural here and go for a 3-hatch Hydra Rush. I think Galaxy is getting ready to maybe try and glitch some Zerglings through. Now that would actually be quite difficult to do, but very worth it, given the fact you're not going to have too many units as CRVT yet. The first gateway is only just now coming up. But Galaxy, he's not got a drone up here, so yeah, there's not going to be anything. He is sending a drone now, but I think that's just going to expand with, or he's going to expand with it. Is he doing it? Oh no, yeah, he's just going to expand. I was going to say, is he going for like a weird all-in where you just break through? It looks like it's not. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen more of that in the STPL, honestly. When I put the map in the map pool, I thought we'd have a lot of really weird rushes, but we haven't really had too many of them. This map has probably led to more macro games, I think, than any other map we've had, including the macro maps like Andromeda. I mean, the average game duration on this map is around 17-18 minutes, and even PvZ has lasted around 13 minutes on average, so it's been a fun map. We've had a lot of good games here. I just assumed it would kind of be like Neo Arkanoid, where someone would come out with this really cool rush strategy that no one else was using, and just get like a crazy win streak with it, but I guess it's very risky on this map to try and do that. Now we've got the Stargate coming up here in the top left here for CRVT, whereas Galaxy has gone for his Hydra Den. Now going for 3-hatch Hydra in this situation is incredibly weird. Is he breaking through? He's getting ready to break through, but I get the feeling it would just be better to break into the main. Like, you know your opponent isn't there, which means if you can just break through and you can run straight into his main, there's going to be no defense. I guess it's always a risk though. No matter what way you play this map, it's always going to be a risk. And yeah, it is a little bit more difficult compared to breaking down the destructibles. Anything ranged will deny it, but that's assuming that they've got something ranged when you go for it. And if you think you only need 6 drones, I think, worth of mining to just completely mine this out in one go. So it's quite easy to do, I would say. Like, especially in CVP, your opponent isn't likely to have anything ranged early on. It's very unlikely anyone will go for a Dragoon straight away, so here we go. Looks like we're going to have the rush activated. It's coming through the left-hand side. There is a Dragoon here, which is immediately going to turn around. The drone getting in the way, actually blocking the units. And this is going to give CRVT time to get some additional cannons. He didn't have any cannons there, and I guess the gap is quite small, so buildings are smaller. But I mean, this could be maybe an overreaction, but I would definitely say that CRVT has to make this decision. He has to do what he needs to do to hold on here. Losing the first Corsair is not what you want to happen though, and that first Corsair going down to these hero Hydralisks gonna cause a few problems for CRVT, as now his air pressure is completely gone. It means Galaxy is gonna bring gonna be able to bring all of his units up. Now CRVT is, interestingly enough, planning to walk out into the middle of the map here. No +1. Or +1 is done. But CRVT definitely getting ready to defend this. I mean, there's a lot of cannons, maybe a few too many. But when you're playing against 3 Hatch Hydra, you have to take it seriously. The amount of pro-level Protoss players who lose to 3 Hatch Hydra, even now, is absolutely astounding. There was that famous series, Bisu versus Shine, where Shine just 3 Hatch Hydra killed Bisu 3 games in a row, if I remember correctly. It's just really sad. Like, it's... 3 Hatch Hydra is kind of sad to watch. I mean, these Hydras are still going to be able to put a little bit of pressure on, especially now range is done. If they can take out the Forge, it means no +1 armor is going to be done. Ryan Metal in chat saying that Protoss deserves it. To be honest, I think Zerg deserves everything they get in ZVP, because ZVP, like, I think without a doubt is Zerg favored, at least early game. Like, it feels like the Protoss player has to play perfectly and the Zerg can do whatever they want. Like, if you mess up your wall, the game just ends as Protoss, right? It's very difficult for Protoss to just outright kill Zerg at the beginning of the game, unless they play, like, immaculately. Like, unless the Zerg is going for 12 hatch, in which case, like, if they get 2 gated, I mean, woe is me, you shouldn't have built a hatch first, you know? Okay, so Evolution Chamber coming up with the gas. The 3rd base, which is the 4th hatchery, is on the way. Lurker upgrade is coming in, which means we'll have a little bit of a Lurker contain coming in here. And Protoss can go 1 gate tech, but then they're putting themselves behind, like incredibly far behind against Zerg. TVP is a similar situation, I would say, but it's slightly different, because in TVP, usually the Terran does have to play relatively perfect early on, but even if you don't play perfectly, you can kind of get away with it. But like PvZ especially, it feels like if you do not get your buildings at exactly the right moment, you just like immediately die. Now CRVT getting ready to push over through the right or the left hand side of the map. There is a lot of High Templar here, a lot of Storm energy as well. Now could he be pushing a little bit too fast with his gateway units? He needs to wait for his High Templar, because Storm is going to be the great equalizer here. Hydras are incredibly strong. Now, oh, it's hold lurkers. This is very clever. He's going to wait until the army gets there. But look at this. CRVT not taking the bait. He's going to turn around. He doesn't know there's lurkers there, which is why he didn't storm. But that was incredibly, incredibly strong. Now, looks like a single Hydra is trying to block him from being able to mine out in the middle. Opening the middle could actually be a big mistake. Like, CRVT needs to make something happen. He needs to push somewhere. But to go back and push through the middle would take forever, so... Oh, look at this Spore. He's going to use that to try and take down any observers that come down. Is there even a Robo yet? Yeah, there is a Robo, there is an Observatory. And there is an Observer, so... Oh, he can... Oh, there is an Observer here with the army. But the Spores have pushed it away. Oh my god, that Storm is disgusting. 2 absolutely disgusting Storms here. He doesn't know about this... Lurker under the eggs, so you can't do anything about it. These Storms have been really nasty. Oh my goodness. Well, that's probably the best Storm usage I've seen in a while. GG, Galaxy doesn't stand a chance. And CRVT takes ReV up 2-0. CRVT saying in chat, by the way, the Zealots his zealots saw the lurkers before the burrow. He wanted to storm them, but there was no spine, so he couldn't tell where they were. And Galaxy did it to him before, so he said, "Fool me once." But okay, so let's go to a quick break, and then we'll be back after we'll be back after the break for game number 2 or game number 3. See you guys soon.
I am the Scatman. Para pa pi pa pa para pum. Pa pa para pum. Para pi pa pa para pum. Pa pa para pum. Para pi pa pa para pum. I am the Scatman. Scooby-Doo-Doo-Doo-Doo-Pa. 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 I am the Scatman.
Okay guys, welcome back. We're going to be heading into game number 3 of VT versus ReV. We've got Sugo starting us off here in game number 3 for ReV. He's been doing really well in the STPL recently. He's got a 76% win rate over 13 games against Protoss, which is very, very good. Let's have a look at his opponent. It's going to be Yangachi. He's a relatively newer player to the STPL, but one of the best amateur Protoss players in Korea right now. He lost to Mighty, he beat Eriador, and it's very likely that he should be in a good position to beat Sugo here, but it's a best of one. Anything can happen, and we've seen some big upsets in the STPL before. Are we going to get one here on La Mancha? Let's find out. Okay, starting us off down here in the bottom right hand corner in the red, fighting for Valhalla team. It's Yangachi. And spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner in the silver, fighting for ReV, it's Sugo. Now I do wonder if we'll see mirror builds in a mirror matchup in the STPL. It's a relatively normal thing for us to have. Very possible we'll get it again, but have to find out. It's going to be 1 gate gas for 1 gate gas for Yangachi, whereas Sugo is also going for 1 gate gas, just a little bit later on that gas. But the minerals are timed out a little bit better for Yangachi, I think. But Sugo should still be fine. They're both very, very even right now. It's kind of amazing looking at the APMs as well. Like, Sugo is really spamming. Like, there is a little bit of There's a bit of a APM boost as well, because the latency isn't going to be amazing. It shouldn't be too bad for both these players, but it does boost the APM a little bit. It just shows how little Yangachi is spamming. Like, he's not spamming at all. He's just playing as normal as he can. Oh, we've got the core coming in for both players. Everything looking very, very standard. It is going to be mirror builds in a mirror matchup, just as we always expect. Now, what we may do today, guys, is depending on how much longer the series goes on for, because I do have work again tomorrow for the first time in a week, we may delay the second part of the playoffs until Wednesday, but we'll still get the extra, or we'll get the lineups out to the people that need them for next week, for next Sunday, but we may delay the casts until Wednesday, depending on how long the series goes on for. Like, if the series ends in the next, like, 15 minutes, which I hope it doesn't, but it could do, then we'll obviously continue. But I've had a kind of weird few last few days, so I need to get back into casting, and obviously it gives us something to watch during the middle of the week as well, because like STPL on a Sunday feels good because it means I'm actually getting to cast on the weekend, which I barely ever do, but it's not really my normal casting time, so we'll see what happens though, we'll see what happens. Both players just kind of building up at the moment. Second gateway coming in for Sugo, which will give him a unit boost, as there's no second gateway coming in for Yangachi, but he's going for the tech. So he is going to go for a quicker Robo, go for a quicker ReV. Now that can actually cause a lot of problems in PvP, because if you go against a ReV and you try and push with early gateway units, you're likely going to lose that game. You're going to lose that engagement for sure. And it's something you can't really risk. And it also means your opponent has a chance of ReV dropping you, which is something you definitely do not want to happen. Looks like Yangachi not probing too far in to his opponent, because if you lose that first Dragoon, it can be pretty big. Especially when your opponent's got more gateways than you have. Looks like Sugo getting ready to push forward, knowing that he's got at least a temporary unit advantage here. Now, this could actually be a very massive deal, because if we see Sugo take down Yangachi, this would be incredible for him, because it gives ReV a 3-0 victory over Valhalla team, who have been one of the strongest teams in the season. But what is Yangachi's micro like? The micro in PvP is so strange. Everything takes so long to die that everything is very deliberate. Like, unlike in ZVZ where Lings go against Lings and all of a sudden one of the player's Lings are just all dead. Like, you don't really have that in PvP. Now, Sugo, not going to press... He doesn't really have an advantage as such at the moment. He will do when these additional units come across, but as I mentioned before, as soon as this ReV comes in, this is going to kill any hope of breaking this, and there is the defender's advantage. If Sugo pushing up to this high ground would actually be a massive, massive mistake. They're both completely even in supply. We've got the supply advantage in army for Sugo, whereas in workers actually, which means Yangachi has a bigger army. So Sugo needs to be careful. Like, if he overcommits to the front and the ReV just flies into his main, it's game over. Now we've got the support bay coming up here for Sugo as well, so Sugo is going to go into his own ReVs, although he's not going to have a shuttle, at least for the time being, so he's not going to be able to chase the opponent around, not going to be able to go for any form of harassment or guerrilla play. Sugo's looking like he's going all in here, and I'm not really sure I agree with this. Oh, looks like he's going to try and focus down the ReV, but he doesn't get the ReV shot off. Yangachi pushing down here against Sugo's army. The ReV scarabs haven't really connected just yet, but the first one comes in here. The ReV is still alive, the shuttle is still alive. And that went so much better for Yangachi there. The target firing was impeccable. Sugo, his units just didn't seem to know where they wanted to fight. Like, you can already see, these are all quite high health units. So that is going to work out a little bit better for Sugo. Sugo does lose his supply lead, especially in army, because he's up 6 workers. But this is going to give Yangachi a massive advantage with army. He is going to really start to put the pressure on here. The shot, though, if he gets this sniped... Oh my god, Sugo needs to snipe the shot. If he sniped... Oh, now he needs to pull back. He needs to pull back away from this. Get away from the ReVs. The ReVs are the real damage dealers in this army right now. And Sugo does not have the units back at home to deal with them. Now, we are going to have 2 ReVs against 1. A shuttle is coming out. It's going to be shuttle against no shuttle when it comes to these ReVs, which is very, very important. But there's just so much army here for Sugo. Oh, he actually ran into the... Okay, I think this could be game over. He's going to lose all his Dragoons here, and I think that's going to be... it. The shuttle's going to go down as well. Yeah, GG. Well, the micro is better from Yangachi, and he's going to bring the series back to 2-1. See you guys when we get back for game number 4.
Reporting for duty.
Toss a coin to your content creators, oh valley of plenty, oh valley of plenty, oh. Toss a coin to your content creators, a friend of humanity. The end of humanity. Whoops. Fuck. I thought I'd muted myself. Oh well. We're still in here. Oh man, I don't know why I started to sing that song again. Oh whoops. Well, that doesn't matter too much, right? We'll get into this. We'll get to the 4th game. Hold on. Where are we? Where are we? Oh man. That's embarrassing, right? Okay, so starting us off for Valhalla team is going to be Pitbull, one of the better amateur Zerg players in Korea, much like Yangachi was. He's only played 2 games in the STPL so far. Not sure how many more he'll play. If VT fall out, I'm not sure if he'll be back in Season 4 or not, but I guess we'll find out when that happens. It depends on what happens in this series as well. ReV are currently 2-1 up at the moment. It's going to be up to their current playing captain Hirmu to try and come out and get a win here. His previous win percentage hasn't been that great, only 25% overall, and his win against Zero was a walkover if I remember correctly. So wait, was that a walkover? I can't remember, but you know what, Hirmu, he's a good player. He just hasn't been able to show it very well in the STPL so far. He's one of the nicest Finnish people you could ever meet as well. So the map they're going to be going into is going to be Core Breach. If you've not seen Core Breach before, Core Breach is in a Coven from ASL, but it's the updated version. Freakling couldn't get it ready for the ASL, so he got it ready for the STPL instead, and it's been a brilliant map. We've had a lot of really good games here. The ZBZs we've had here have been interesting for sure. It usually leads to very short games, I must admit. Fear saying yes it was, and he was sad about it. Thank God for Koget to carry Net Wars. Yeah, Net Wars, that carried them into the, or Koget carried them into the semi-final, so they've done pretty well for themselves. Let's get started. It's game number 4, and it's on Core Breach. Okay, starting us off here in the 9 o'clock position, we have in the white, fighting for ReV, it's going to be Hirmu. And his opponent, spawning in the blue, fighting for Valhalla team, it's going to be Pitbull. Now, at least statistically, I would say I would give Pitbull the edge here, but you've got to realize that Hirmu's playing on his home turf here. He's played a lot of games on Core Breach, and also the colors, they're the Finnish flag colors, man. The stars are aligning for a ReV victory here. Is it going to come into effect? Are we going to see the fabled Finnish victory, the Finnish upset here, or is Pitbull going to take us to an ace match? It is going to be a ZVZ. ZVZ obviously one of the shortest matchups in, I would say, like, just in STPL, but in the game overall. Like, you don't really get a matchup that goes shorter than ZVZ, so let's see how that's going to go. We saw Season 2 was decided by a ZVZ. It was Killer versus Beast, with Killer losing in the last few moments for Seoul to take their 2-time championship over the STPL, and they're something like their 5th or 3rd or 4th win in a row over White Clan, but it was so close. Now, both players going for very similar builds here, although Hirmu is going to go, I think Hirumu's buildings are a little bit later. Yeah, they're a little bit later here, but that does mean he has an extra drone. Now, both players, I think their overlords did see each other, so they both know where each other spawned, so there's going to be no scouting advantage for either player. Looks like Pitbull's going to just drone up here. It definitely makes a lot more sense than going for Lings. Now, both players are actually sending their second overlords away from their opponents to maybe try and look to get an earlier second expansion a little bit safer. Now, if you don't know the way the expansions work on this map, they do have those floor gun traps which are blocking them unless you've got some form of vision over them. So when I say vision, I mean detection, which the overlords do give you. Now, the lair is coming in slightly earlier for Pitbull. Does mean his mining has been a little bit, well, it was a little bit more efficient purely because he got the gas a little bit earlier. And as you can see, Hirmu getting ready to go for his second base, killing the floor gun trap, as I explained. But Hirmu's not going to know, or he's not going to be surprised by anything his opponent's doing. He just saw him send the drone up here, so he's going to know that his opponent is going for an expansion as well. And I mean, this could be a pretty good macro game. And yeah, Hirmu does get sent out on this map, but given he's the one who submits the lineups, I think he kind of sends himself. I think he likes this map. In Season 1, he played a lot of Plasma. Like, he was like the kind of weird map guy. Now, the Spires, despite the earlier layer, are going to come up very close to each other, and Hirmu has actually got a 2-drone advantage where he didn't build these Lings. Now, the Lings will eventually break through these stasis cells, but there is 2 stasis cells stacked on top of each other. So once the first one dies, he'll have to go through the second one to be able to break through, and he's also going to have to break through them on this side as well, so that's a very important thing to take note of. There we go, the first one's going to disappear, second one is here as well. Now, Alba asks in chat, would it ever make sense to go for a Hydra with a few lurkers type build on this map and bust down the temples? I don't think so, because Mutas, while you're busting through the middle, will just go and kill your main. Hydras, they should do well against Mutas, but because of the mobility advantage that Mutas give you, they just don't have a place in ZVZ. Like, maybe super late game you can go into Hydras and break through, but you need like Plague or Ensnare or something to make Hydras worth it. I mean, there is Hydra styles in ZVZ, but you can't really leave your base. Like, Hydra styles in ZVZ are more, I'm gonna camp on my base and you can't kill me. But the problem is as well on this map, you can't defend your other base with Hydras, because the Mutas will just kill your Hydras as they try and rotate. Okay, so it looks like we've got a couple of Scourge coming in for Yangachi first, which means... sorry, for Pitbull. Which means Hero at least early on should have the Muteless advantage. Oh, he loses...
Reporting for duty.
He almost loses his Muteless. Thank you, Bonus, for the massive raid here. Looks like he actually takes 2 Scourge hits. That's a massive deal in ZBZ. Now, just to remember, guys, that Hero is on match point here. And if he can carry this through, he could actually get ReV into the playoffs over Valhalla team, or further into the playoffs, which would be incredibly, incredibly strong. Now, obviously, nothing is over until it's over. We've got a higher Muteless count for Hero, but 2 of them are very heavily damaged, so he's going to have to be very, very careful. We do have a Scourge advantage as well for Hero as well. He's got a drone advantage, and he's actually doing very well for himself, but the problem will be is when they engage, how is the micro? We've got +1 Carapace coming in for Pitbull, which is a lot sooner than Hieromu's. So if Pitbull can hit a timing when his +1 Carapace is done and his opponent's isn't, this could be an interesting engagement because that should go one way. Now looks like oh, he gets a okay, he should actually push. He's seen the number of Muteless, he knows he's got the advantage, he should go right now. Like, this is the timing that Hero needs to hit. He needs to get in before +1 Carapace is done. Or he has to sit back and wait until his is done. And when you're waiting behind in ZVZ, that's not a good position to be in. You need to be the aggressor. You don't necessarily need to, but it's a lot easier to mess up defending than it is attacking in ZVZ. Because when you're defending, you can still lose drones, you can lose buildings, even if you're engaging Muta versus Muta. Whereas when you're attacking, you can fly in, do a little bit of damage, and fly back out again. Like, imagine as soon as +1 Carapace finishes, we've got a ton of Scourge coming in for Pitbull right now. Look at this, like, he's going to be aggressive now, and Hiro is going to have to not only micro against the Scourge, he's going to have to try and save his drones, and he's going to have to try and save his buildings. And the Scourge forced the Muteless away from 2 of those things. From 3 of those things, actually. Like, look at this. 1 drone, 2 drone, 3 drone. We're going to have the Muteless come down here, but they're going to have to deal with the Scourge. A lot of Scourge are connecting already. There's so many Scourge. Look at how badly that went for Hiro. Like, this is such a good position. We've got +1 Carapace against no Carapace as well. And this is not what you want to see happen as Hiro. This is going to be the move that ends the game. The cookie has crumbled here. And Hiro is going to have to see GG. There we go. GG. Hiro taps out. And Pitbull takes us to the ace match with the score tied up 2-2. Now I'm just going to go for a quick break, and when I get back, we're going to be heading into game number 5. It's going to be the ace match. It's ReV versus Pitbull. Who is going to advance to the quarterfinals? Find out after this. STPL does! Bio TVP? Wow! You got it! STPL does! Mass Scouts? No problem. Broadcast 3 nights a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 2100 CEST. Fantastic casting, fantastic production, fantastic prizes. Only here on the STPL. Did you know Reavers could be this radical? How did these lings even get here? All I know is that's one dead base. STPL does! Wraiths, Valkyries, Carriers, and Corsairs. Forget about it. You won't see that anywhere else. STPL does. STPL does. STPL does. STPL does. STPL does. DT's doing game-ending damage? Name a more iconic duo. We've even got carriers in PvZ. How amazing! A global team league on the scale you've never seen before. Don't see this in BWCL, STPL does. All that and more, only on this amazing 64-bit STPL. What BWCL don't. Impressed? I know I am. Why not support us on the link below? Patreon.com/kicks. But act fast, it's a limited offer. Oh man, I was muted. Okay, well, starting us off in the top left-hand corner, spawning in the orange, fighting for ReV in this ace match, it's Medinio, the Viking Terran. And his opponent spawning up here in the top right-hand corner, once again fighting for Valhalla team. In the green, it's Yangachi. Also, it goes to show I've been casting now for 3 years. I've been using this overlay, essentially, for those 3 years as well. And I still forget to unmute myself on OBS and stuff like that. I am so bad. Oh my god, doing everything is really difficult, guys. Don't do this. Like, if you're thinking, I want to cast, like, just think about it, because you're going to make a lot of mistakes. Especially if you do your own production and stuff. My bad. There is a reason why esports organizations have casters, and then in the background they have production. Doing everything at once is so difficult. Just don't do it. Even like big streamers have people who do their production for them. I don't. I just do everything myself. But maybe that gives me a little bit of an edge, because if anything goes wrong, I know it's my fault. But it also means I've got no one else to blame. And having no one else to blame is so good, because I don't like playing the blame game with people. If something goes wrong, I did it, it's me. I can live up to it. And also, you get into the position where, because I've been doing this long enough, and because you guys know me well enough, even if I make mistakes, it's fine. It doesn't matter. Everyone knows I'm like an amateur caster who doesn't do this professionally, doesn't really make much money from this at all, maybe about $100 a month, and it's fine. I'm not an esports organization. I'm not a multi-million-dollar company. I don't need to do everything perfectly. I just need to do everything okay, and I think I do everything okay, you know? Now, it is going to be the ace match on Byzantium 3, by the way. Medinho is going for a very quick factory, but he is going to go for an expansion behind this. We've got the bunker coming up on the high ground as well. Now, it does make me wonder where we go from here, because this is a TVP. Medinho is very good with his use of dropships in TVT. He's also very good at TVP in general, so this could be really cool. Let's actually check the win ratio for... Okay, so Medinho is actually 5 and 5, 50% win rate against Protoss. The probe goes down before it can scout us as an expansion, which is a very big deal, because we do not have a position where Yangachi knows if there's an expansion. Now, Medinho and Yangachi have both played on this map once. I don't know what matchup it was, because they've not played it recently, but essentially they both won on this map as well, so... And Clan Revolution have actually done a little bit better on this map than Valhalla team have. Clan Revolution are 3 for 4 against their opposing teams, and Valhalla are 1 for 4. So Valhalla team, this is kind of a cursed map for them. This appearing in the playoff ace match here is actually going to be a bit of a problem. Now, can Medinho take down one of the best Protoss players in Korea, at least one of the best amateur players anyway? He's going to get his Vulture in. He's already killed a single probe. He's going to be able to get a second one. Yes, he does. This is already worth it. He's going to get 3 probes, he's going to scout the number of gateways, and he's going to see when the expansion is coming up. Now, we've got a lot of repair going on here on the bunker. As long as he keeps this bunker alive, he's fine. But that Vulture cost Yangachi a Dragoon. This is an incredible moment for Medinho, because that's actually putting him in a very, very good position. Losing a single Dragoon that early on is a very big win for Terran. Medinho in the STPL has gone from strength to strength. If there's anyone who can upset Yangachi here, and honestly, I wouldn't really call it too much of an upset if Medinho can win here, at least STPL statistics wise. It's not a big deal, you know? Okay, so the 2 gates are done. Robo is coming in. We're going to have the observatory coming up behind this. Mad is in a very, very good spot right now in the game. He's going for mines, which means he's going to be able to defend his base. We're probably going to have a starport coming in for Medinho after this, but no, it's going to be a second factory. It was a siege expand, yeah. He went siege into mines afterwards. Now we've got double observers coming in here for Yangachi. A third base is on the way. Unlike on Fantasy 2, all the third bases do have gas. At least the ones outside the mineral onlys. We've got Yangachi going for a wall here as well, because it's really easy for Medinho to get in and do damage here, so you kind of need to wall this off. And yeah, siege expand is a very, very good opening on this map. But you also need to bunker expand. If you try and expand with your CC on the low ground, you're going to put yourself behind. Now, Medinho is actually setting up a turret ring already. This is a little bit risky. He thinks possibly a Reaver is coming in. He didn't actually see the probe going for the expansion, although he did kill the probe up here, so I assume he must know there's an expansion already. We've got Speed getting ready to come in for Medinho. He's going to try and escape around the right hand side to do a little bit of damage, try and find some damage over here at the third base. Thank you, Devlin, for the raid, man. You guys are tuning in for the STPL playoffs. We're just here in week 1 of the 5 weeks of what we usually have here, but 2 factories coming in for Medinho still. Going to be double tank for a while for Gateway's worth of Dragoons being produced at a time, going to be very, very strong. Now, Medino going to be able to put up some mines, get ready to try and stop his opponent from expanding down to the bottom right-hand corner. But this third base is pretty well defended. Now, this is why I would have thought we would have seen a starport from Medino already, because if you get a dropship into this base, which is quite easy, they have to break down their own pylons to come and defend it. Medino does save his vultures, which is a pretty big deal as well, but the Observer, despite the fact there's so many turrets everywhere, gets into the main and scouts absolutely everything. And that really kind of defeats the point of this turret ring, because when you're going for the turret ring, you basically want to block your opponent from seeing anything. Because your opponent seeing the number of factories means they can feel a little bit more comfortable in their skin. Like, Yangachi doesn't have anything to worry about right now. He knows his opponent doesn't have 6 factories. He knows that Medino doesn't have the kind of units that are going to be able to break 4 gateways worth of production. But can Medino's micro come into play here and make this work? Like, he is going to have the high ground. He's going to be able to push high to low. But look at this, Medino pulling back. He knows he's not going to be able to secure this location. And this is very risky. It's still risky, but he knows his opponent's units are not going to be able to catch up now. They had to deal with the vultures before they left, so that's how we go. Now the third base is finally coming up here for Medino. This is a lot later than maybe you'd want in TVP, sorry. +1 was done. No, sorry, he's not even got +1 yet. This is actually a major mistake. You need those upgrades in TVP. Upgrades in TVP are probably more important than any other matchup. Obviously, TVZ bio upgrades are really, really important because muters come out and you're not fully upgraded, you're in a lot of trouble. But other than that, you're pretty fine. Now, Medino is going up to 5 factories. Still no upgrade though, and still no starport. Very, very interesting change of style for Medino. Like, Medino, as I've called him before, I mean, PvZ upgrades are kind of important. +1 is the most important one in the entire matchup, I would say. But it's got to be a mistake to not get +1. Like, if you go for a starport, you can delay it. But when you're not going for a starport, you really should have it already. Like, Medino is sitting on 400 gas. This upgrade should have started a long, long time ago. I kind of feel like maybe Medino is forcing a change in his playstyle to try and throw his opponent off a little bit. Like, Yangachi, he would have been told by SFCA that Medino likes drops. And, I mean, Medino's not gone for a single drop this game. We've got a quicker third gas from Yangachi. He's going to go into a 4th base over here in the top left. Now, this is pretty assaultable. My Medino is going to be able to siege up down here, and it's going to be very hard to break that position for Yangachi. But it's a mineral only. It's not the biggest deal. It really comes down to these upgrades for Terran. And I mean, look at this, he's getting a science facility in 11 minutes, which is perfect timing, but the upgrade timing is off. Now we've got the Stargate coming in with the Arbiter Tribunal at the same time. It is going to be Arbiters. Are we going to have Storm for Yangachi, or is he going to rely entirely on Stasis? Like, I feel like Storm is seeing a little bit more of a renaissance recently in PvT. We're seeing a lot more Storming Protoss players, which is really good because Storm in PvT is incredibly good. Like, I would say it's a mistake to skip Storm and rely entirely on Stasis. But it's also very hard to make Storm work in PvT as well, because it's really difficult to get your Templar in position and stuff like that. Jangmi is really the only Protoss in history that has been incredibly good at Storm in PvT. No one has really come close to how good he was. Kingdom was pretty good, like his entire style was just gateway units. Like, he didn't really build arbiters or carriers at all. I mean, he did sometimes, but he was mainly Templar man. But it was a different time at that point. Terran wasn't played the same as it was now. Okay, so we've got a pylon coming in here, blocking the 4th base attempt by Medino. This is actually a pretty clever move, because as Mad, you're very likely going to want to push down this small ramp, because it A, gets you into a position to attack this base, and it also defends your 4th. Now here we go, the first longbow is coming in here from the Viking Terran. How much damage can he get done? There's a lot of zealots coming back already, but they're going to be running into mines, so he does need to be careful here. Oh, looks like that's actually a big mine going off first, but the vultures get cleaned up immediately. Although one probe does go down, he does eat that mine, which is a pretty big amount of damage as well. We've got a Wraith out here for Medino as well, possibly getting ready to chase down any Arbiter that comes in, which is pretty good. 4th Command Center is actually coming up to expand to this base. I would say this is a bit of a mistake by Medino, because to go over here, he is spreading himself incredibly thin. Like, imagine if you take this position here, right? You defend this area, you defend your 4th base, and you also still have units defending this ramp. I think Medino might be expanding in the wrong direction. At least that's my personal opinion. Like, he's expanding away from his opponent, which means Yangachi is going to feel under no pressure, which he's currently not feeling. There is, I thought there was another drop, but it was a couple of mines from before. And look at, okay, so we're going to see in a second just how much harder it is for Medino to hold onto this base. I guess maybe he just wanted to get in without killing the pylon, so I guess it does work in some respects. And this is the ace match. Yeah, the 4th is vulnerable to recall, but it'll be vulnerable over here as well. And the thing is, to defend this base, you're giving up a lot of position on your natural, whereas if you take this base, you defend the natural as well. Now, Medino has been doing incredibly well this game. He actually got an Observer there, which is a pretty big pickup. But the problem he's got is he's down in upgrades. At least compared to where you want to be. Let's actually zoom out a little bit. Looks like Yangachi going to try and take a full-on frontal engagement. Stasis on the back tanks. The tanks at the front getting melted by these zealots. He pushed the wrong way. But all of a sudden, there is going to be a little bit of a roadblock here in the stasis units. The zealots have gone down. Can Medino hold on to this location? It's not looking good for him, but all is not lost just yet. The scans have been impeccable. The Dragoons falling very, very quickly here, and it looks like Medino has traded pretty well. Yes, he has. The upgrades very, well, sorry, the worker count very similar. The unit count by Yangachi completely plummeted there. But the issue is going to be this gateway farm in the bottom right hand corner, because the longer this game goes on, if Medino can't do significant damage, he is going to be in a lot of trouble. Now the Vulture's going to try and catch some of these probes. This is actually a pretty big deal, because he now knows there's a base in the bottom right hand corner. If he can put up some mines out the front, he's going to look in a very strong position here, because he is going to be able to kind of catch some of these units. More probes though gonna go down. This is actually a pretty big deal. This is a lot of probes going down. This is a very good move by Medino. Basically minerals for minerals. The players who won so far were Medino, CRVT, Pitbull, and Yangachi. So now it looks like Medino getting ready. Still 2-1 is not done. Does he even have a second armory? Yes, he does. Okay, so 2-1 is about to finish up. Look how many Arbiters there are there. There's going to be 3 Arbiters. Does he have enough energy for 3 stasis? No, just 2. But Medino getting his units caught off guard again. I think this could be the straw that broke the camel's back here. Medino losing another load of tanks. Now, this is the moment where Yangachi, I think, is going to be a little bit confused. I think he would have assumed that his opponent would have had that base, but he didn't have it just yet. So Medino is going to stay alive at least a little bit longer. Oh, looks like we are getting ready for a recall here. A lot of the units are completely they're getting ready to come in here, so oh, he's not actually going to go in with those ones. What units is he going to recall with? There we go, recalling into the main. This is actually not the best recall location. Medino is going to get a very nice trade here. He's not going to lose anything, most likely. The science facility upgrade does finish as well. And he's going to kill a load of free units. That was a very nice defense by Medino. That was definitely a panic recall. He was like, I'm gonna lose the Arbiter. I need to recall something. And we've got a lot of additional mines being laid up here. I mean, the economy of Yangachi isn't actually that good. And oh my god, if he gets in the main, there's nothing defending this. Okay, oh, there's 2 cannons, but 2 cannons can get taken down by vultures, no problem. And this is a big part of the economy. Medino is killing it this game. He's doing so well. But he does need to find some additional damage. He needs to be careful. The 4th base attempt is not going to get scouted. Oh, there is another recall though in the natural, but this is once again another lot of units that should go down without too much worry here. Now, I don't know why Medino is trying to hold it for like hide a base in the bottom right. I mean, I guess he feels like he has to. Now, Yangachi's supply is continuing to go up despite losing units. That is the power. Well, I was going to say that's the power of the 2 gateway farms, but he's not even building from them. Oh, but here we go. Another recall getting ready to come in. This is going to be another lot of units. Is he going to recall? Yes, he is. There we go. Recalling on top of Mindser, but Storm coming in. This is massive. The Storm is so important. It's so much damage coming in from Yangachi, but Medino holds again. He holds. He doesn't lose too many tanks. And he is getting into a position where he can start to get ready to push. Now, if this 4th base... I'm sorry, I guess this would be the 5th base. If he can get this mining without any problem... Oh, this is going to be a big recall, though. This is going to be a massive problem. There's nothing defending this. Look at the Storm! The SCV's running into where the Storm is. He doesn't want to be there. He needs to pull his units away. But this is one of the only remaining mining bases for Medino. Medino is going all in I can't think of the right word, but in revenge, I guess. He doesn't care about that base, but the base in the bottom left has been recalled as well. But to recall this base, it means he's actually given up all of his units outside his main. Medino could do critical damage here, but Medino is mined out. He's got no income. He has to win with this push. If he cannot kill all the units here, this is going to be game over. And he not only has to worry about this, he has to worry about the units pushing him back at home. And I think this could very well be the biggest mistake of Medino in this game, minus the upgrade. Because he can't hold on to this base anymore. He can't mine anywhere, and that's going to be the problem. There's 2 gateways worth of production. Units coming in from both angles here. I mean, this is a lot of units for Medino, but it's not going to be enough, I don't think. Now, the SCV count is very low for Medino, but he doesn't have any mining bases anyway. And there we go. Stasis coming out. GG, well played. Valhalla team are going to win the series 3-2. And they're going to knock ReV out of the playoffs. Right here, right now. Okay guys, that is going to put an end to our series for today, at least here for Clan Revolution versus Valhalla. We do have a lot of viewers, but I think what I'm going to do is after this one, I'm going to take a break and then we'll cast on Wednesday as well. But basically, Clan Revolution, they did well, but unfortunately the Viking Terran couldn't take down Yangachi. It was a very close game, and Yangachi is not in Wiko, I don't think. But Medino taking down Iradiar in game 1, CRVT taking down Galaxy, Yangachi pulling it back with a win over Sugo, Pitbull with a win over Hinmu, taking it to the ace match, and Yangachi bringing it home for Valhalla team. That's going to cause them to advance into the into the playoff quarterfinals, and they're going to be up against the winners of either IRK or Eternal Friends. Now, what we're going to do is, just because it is quite late for me and I do have work again tomorrow for the first time in a long time, well, in a week, because I had a week off, which is really sad, because now I've got to go back to work. Like, who wants to do that? We're going to take a couple of days break with the casts, and we'll be back on Wednesday to finish this off. We'll basically see who is going to go into the playoff quarterfinals against Valhalla team. I'll receive all of the I'll receive the matchups though and distribute them today, so there's no problem there. And yeah, nobody wants to work. Well, there are some weird people that apparently do, and when I get told about them, I think they're lying. Like, people are like, oh, you just need to get a job you enjoy yourself out. I actually enjoy my job. I don't mind my job. I just don't want to do it. I just hate the monotony of having to do the same thing every single day. It's so annoying. Like, I get why it's the way it is, but it is just really sad. But regardless, yeah, being free and doing whatever you want will always trump work. Exactly, Albert. I agree. I wish I could do that. That would be the best. Now, on VR chat earlier, there was someone with like a fortune-telling avatar, and they did like tarot cards. And I picked a card, and I got the card, which is like, I think it was the 9 of Cups or something, which turns out my dream is going to come true. So maybe I'm going to win the lottery, and I'm just going to become so rich that I don't have to work again. No, the thing is, my job isn't always doing the same thing either, but it's the monotony of having to do my job that I do not like. That's all it is. Like, it's just knowing that I've got to wake up for 9 o'clock on a Monday to Friday, and then I have to work for 8.5 hours. I've got no flexibility of when I can work, but to be honest, maybe that's a good thing, because it means I don't have to work like super late or anything. But it means I'm guaranteed to have to do something, whereas when you don't have to do anything, you can relax a while. But I'm going to find someone to host, going to find someone to raid, and then we'll be back on Wednesday at 2100 CEST for the end of the playoffs round 1. And we'll see between EF and IRK who's going to win and who is going to be facing Valhalla team in the quarterfinals. Let's find out when we get back then. See you guys then. Oh, before I go, a huge thank you to Suika Kuju for the sub, man. Thank you so much. See you guys soon. I completely forgot to shout you out, my bad.